Hey there, Knicks fans. How you doing? It's your boy, Jonathan Macri, with you for another episode of the Knicks Film School Podcast. I think our first official episode of the offseason, because I don't consider the episode that Jeremy and I recorded after the last game to be that was part of the regular season. So as promised, we took a little bit of time off, decompressed from what was a mighty slog through 82 games of this Knicks season. But we are back. We are back, and we are better than ever. And what better way to open the offseason than with everybody's favorite Zillennial, and everyone's favorite pusher of P and any other letters that you think he's pushing. All of those things. And of course, the presenter, the rightful presenter of the mailbag, Kris Pursiainen. Hello, Kris.
Wow. Every time you beat the previous introduction.
That's the goal.
And just, I didn't say in quality, just like in insanity. But sure, quality too, but definitely insanity.
I got a little jammed up when I was bringing in Clyde for the interview a couple weeks ago, because
shame on you.
Because I had obviously thought out what I wanted to say, and I would have been
pooping myself.
that would have been funny. I mostly stuck to it, but there was a part of me that was itching to just be like the greatest Knick of all time, and I had not yet decided on who I was going to rank as the greatest Knick of all time in the top 75 list that I've been counting down all season, which will come to its conclusion on Monday as I reveal the top two in order. Shout out to Willis Reed. Shout out to Willis Reed, who is in Friday's newsletter as the number 3 greatest Knick of all time. So yeah, the intros are always an adventure is the point, I guess.
Well, hello. Nice to be back.
It's good to have you. I think you were like, you had something in the last mailbag, so no. Did you? I forgot.
Yeah.
Time's a flat circle,
I think. So
there you go. So this will be good, because I'm sure we're going to have a lot of thoughts and opinions and questions. Yes, you were working the NCAA tournament. Thank you, Andrew.
The questions are varied in aggression.
I love varied.
And
what could possibly people be aggressive about?
I don't know.
All right, kick us off wherever you want. As always, I should say I did not see any of these questions out of time.
No pre-prep of any sort. None. John, just unfiltered Macri, for better or for worse.
Oh, we'll find out soon enough.
Well, here's a good start. Lord Sean wants to know, if you're Leon Rose this upcoming draft, are you drafting based on talent or team need? And then say, like, he said to throw a number out there, the 11th pick, who might a dream pick of yours be? You know, if you've looked at any guys like that. A good question. A good question to start us off. It's funny, the draft, I'll just admit, the draft is occupying a place like much more in the back of my mind as we enter the offseason. Yeah, you've got like salad recipes ahead of that right now.
I have all kinds of things ahead of the draft. No, I mean, I'm focusing more on the players that are here right now, because I think the players that are here right now are like, what they decide to do with them is going to go a very long way. But to answer the question, I think they will draft for talent. The obvious kind of looming unknown hovering over the draft is Mitchell Robinson. And like, it just so happens that 2 of the, prospects that are slated to be available where they figure to pick, I think our questioner here says like the 11th pick, like in Jalen Duren and Mark Williams, like one or both of those guys might be around there. And those are like, not that they should be. He didn't ask like, do you draft a Tibbs player? They should not draft a Tibbs player with this pick. They should draft the best player with this pick. But like, just it fits an archetype of how this team has been built. Let's just say that this team has been built a certain way on both ends of the floor, and both of those guys kind of fit that archetype. I think they should draft the best player available, especially since you have Walt Perrin here to make the pick, and he has a track record of selecting guys that are pretty good. So I would go what?
Aller too.
Yeah. But to me, the draft, that's Perrin's territory. Aller is more like if they wind up trading this pick, that's where I think he comes in. And that's the other part of it. Why I think it's in the back of my mind is I am not yet fully convinced that they're going to make this pick. I hope they are, especially since a lot of these prospects are exciting. As far as the guys that I would be excited about, the Suns are interesting to me. The kid from Arizona, Mathurin. I hope I pronounced his name correctly.
Benny.
Yeah, he's interesting. He's interesting. He's someone I'm most excited to dig more into over the next couple months.
I've been pushing wing propaganda on the timeline, and the reason for that is because I'm evil, and because everyone thinks, oh, the Knicks are going to draft a point guard. Oh, the Knicks are associated with Kentucky. Oh, the Knicks are going to draft Ty Washington, and Prez said it best. And dear, national writers, please stop mocking Ty Washington to the Knicks. But for me, I love RJ, Cam, Grimes as a self-complementary wing trio. But now we're in a situation where we're looking at projecting Obi as a starter, right? So I'm in love with the thought of adding a 3/4 type of wing.
Sure.
Whether it's Eason or Sochan or one of those guys, one of the more gritty guys than the star upside looks. But if we are picking, right now, I think it's 13th, whatever it is we're slated. I would love that. I would love a boring pick this year. This will be the first year I'm team boring.
I think boring is okay. Because boring often turns out to be less boring than you think it's going to be. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, even, someone like Sochan, some cool upside. I actually understand this person's name. If you remember when the Knicks did that Marvel inspired poster and it looked like they wrote Knicks instead of Knicks, Andrew's laughing. He knows what I'm talking about.
I'm Googling this as you read the question. So
this person's name is Knicks, which when you look at it really close and squint, looks like Knicks in weird font. Tibbs has said it multiple times that Randle and the team is better when they are running. If they work on that all offseason and assuming no major changes, could quickly start, or is there a point guard that is better suited for that style of offense while keeping our defensive DNA? So basically, are you a quickly truther? Are you, is there a point guard you really like? Do you like quickly enough to pass on this specific wave of point guards? I suppose is the setup there.
So okay, there's a lot going on in this question. I don't think the way the Knicks are currently constituted, which is to say a team with Julius Randle on it, I don't think they're ever going to run. I don't think he wants to run. I understand he was part of a Pelicans team that ran a fair bit. I also know he was lower on the totem pole on that team. This gets into a whole host of other issues involving Julius Randle's role on the team, his role in the offense, how much power he has in dictating how he plays, how much of that falls on the coach, all kinds of manner of different things. I am of the personal belief that as long as he is here, they are going to be a somewhat slower team. And at the same time, I don't know that I could completely blame that on him, because I was looking up earlier today. So 275 different pairings in the NBA this year played at least 900 minutes. The Knicks had 2 pairings that were in the top 25. They both contained Emmanuel Quickley. Do you want to care to guess what the other his two partners in those pairings were? And
this is for pace or
for net rating? Sorry, net rating. No, literally, they had 2 of the best 25 2-man pairings that played at least 900 minutes via net rating. So both of them contained Quickley, and they each contained obviously another. Obi's one, the top one. Yeah.
See,
you're not going to guess the next one.
I was going to say I would venture to guess like my brain, my heart or whatever says RJ, but like because it's a trick question, I want to go like Nerlens.
Well, they didn't play Nerlens. I don't think did Nerlens play 90 minutes this season?
No. I thought it was cumulative. Okay, never mind. If it's this season, then it's not Rose either.
No,
is it Alec Burks?
It is Alec Burks. Burks' on-off numbers are quite good, and with quickly they're obviously quite good as well. The interesting thing about both of those is if you go and then you look, as you referenced a second ago, if you look at the pace for those two lineups, of the top 25 there in that, again, over 900 minutes sorted by net rating, two lowest paces. Both have Emmanuel Quickly on the floor, one with Obi Toppin, the other with Alec Burks, who, again, when Alec Burks is on the floor without Julius Randle, I like to think they try to play a little faster. They do. Both of those lineups do play a little bit faster in comparison to what the Knicks play regularly, but they're still pretty slow in comparison to the rest of the league. So I guess this is my very long-winded way of saying, like, I don't know if it is in this coach's DNA to play fast consistently. I think of them more as a team that when Quickly's on the floor, what he's great at is picking his spots as to when to play fast. And I also think like it also like gives the meaning of playing fast, it gives the term playing fast different meanings. Like when he throws the ball 75 feet to Obi Toppin, who's waiting under the rim, is that playing fast? I mean, yes, I guess it's playing fast, but it's not, I guess maybe it's not the traditional way that we think of in playing fast. If they start quick, I think they will play faster. That's probably the short answer. Yeah.
All right. Well, also if that's happening, maybe, if Quickly is starting, maybe Julius is gone and that the plan is they're doing that to start him with Obi. Like I cannot, I know the front office knows things about how their fans feel. And regardless,
they wrote it. Leon Rose wasn't hiding in his letter today where he counted. Young Core was mentioned not one, not two, but 4 times in that letter to season ticket holders.
They get it.
They know. They're not stupid.
And they just, they're going to put up that ironclad, like everything is good and sunshine and rainbows here because everyone on the Knicks is amazing. But like they know, like they knew about Alfred, they know about Randle and Tibbs and everything. Like the team is very aware of these things, like they. Yeah. Next up, we're going to get very evil.
Okay, here we go.
Professional Banff engineer wants to know, is Derrick Rose's value higher on the court as a leader or in a trade?
My gut instinct is to say on the court. And here's the thing. If I'm another, so put your GM hat on. What team do you want to be? It has to be a team Clippers. That is okay. That's fair. That's the first D Rose team that I can think of. I'm just trying to think of tradable salary that they have. Covington's unrestricted, right? Pretty sure Covington's unrestricted. And they're not, they just acquired whatever. The Clippers, I'm sure they could cobble together something. Whatever. Pick your Derrick Rose team. Like some team that is looking to win big next season. So you think Derrick Rose has something left? Great. It's $14 million to find that out. And what's it going to cost? Because the Knicks, I don't think the Knicks are just going to give him away for like no reason, because what incentive would they have unless it was to clear cap space? And unless I'm mistaken, there are no teams that are in the business of winning championships next season, potentially, that are under the cap. So you're taking back money. So again, is a team really going to give up enough for the Knicks to trade away Rose? Now, maybe Rose is part of a larger package and they need that salary to go out to make the money work in a deal for a player that they really want. Like I know I've thrown him in a few different Brunson sign and trades potentially, just because again, the money works. Dallas is looking to win. You figure Rose could be a pretty good backup point guard. You're shaking your head. That's put Brunson aside. This isn't about Brunson. I'm just saying, like, that's one construction that would get Derrick Rose traded, in which case he would have a value as a certain salary of a player that can still like win basketball games. And for the team that would be trading for him, it would be like, all right, great. If Derrick Rose works out for us, awesome. If it doesn't, we still got whatever we got in the sign and trade. So again, my answer is going to be that I think he has more value on the court, because I still think, it has a little bit to do with Tibbs still being a coach, but Derrick Rose was freaking awesome this year when he was on the floor. Tailed off a little bit towards the end when you could tell he started to wear down, but that's one of the many, 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 many things that they need to corral with their head coach if he's going to be back to coach the team again.
Yeah, fair. I just always cringe at the thought of Brunson, because like my whole thing with him all season was like, why when Quickly exists, everyone was like, oh, but Quickly's bad because he's moving more than 9 minutes, and I was like,
I'm moving in the direction of, is it really necessary? Is it really the right thing to do to pay Brunson $16 to $18 million a year if you have a guy who may very well be better than him, like not in 2 years, but like today?
I put out a blind poll of like Quickly in year 2 and year 2 Brunson, their stats with as much context I could provide numerically. So 3-point attempts per game as well as percentage. Quickly double the attempts, higher percentage. 2-point Quickly definitely lower, right? But then way more attempts. So it's just like, oh, this kid played less minutes than Brunson did and was doing more in the offense and doing so really efficiently. And in that stretch to end the year, he was averaging 15, 5, and 5. Like there's just so many. If it's someone like Colin Sexton you're really interested in, who brings a skill to the table, where it's like, oh, you want that under the rim pressure guy, well then that's a totally different skill set. For me with Brunson, it's like, why?
Like I'm not a Sexton guy, but like at least I get it. There is an upside there. I don't know how likely it is he's going to get there, but there's a real upside there. Like with Quickly, I don't even like looking at the year-long stats, because there was a month to a month and a half where he was one of the worst shooters in basketball, and his stats
are still better than your two. That was my whole point.
Yeah. And then you look at the growth he experienced as a playmaker, as a driver of the basketball, as a guy who drew fouls. Obviously, I haven't checked it in the last couple of weeks, but I know he finished as one of the top 20 or 25 pull-up threats in the league. Pretty good percentage on those shots. Like it's all there. It's just a matter of they haven't seen it over 82 games yet, but second-year player.
He just, I don't know. I feel like we're not at a point as a team where we need to be this worried about what position he might play in Game 7 of the finals. You know what I mean? Like,
they need to be, not that they need to be worried about it, but like they're building a roster for next year.
So it's conscious. It's just like I don't know, the thing where it's like, oh, well, we could sell high on him right now because he's not a.
Listen, if they traded Quickly this year, it would make me more this offseason. It would make me. This is going to seem sacrilege. I'm not doing the asset valuation thing, but it would actually make me more upset, I think, than if they traded RJ. RJ is the higher ceiling, but like Quickly, I just am in love with that kid. I want him here for a very long time.
I went viral earlier this year for saying I wouldn't trade him for Fox. Viral in the sense that like everyone laughed at me in the quote tweets. So a bunch of people saw the tweet, and I just like still stand by that. I don't know.
Listen, yeah. We'll find out how crazy you are in a few years.
Very, but that's not the point. That's besides the point. Next question comes in from Luke Johnson. Oh, hey, fellow Ram. Didn't even realize. Assuming RJ gets the max or somewhere near the max, how does that affect the possibility of bigger stars wanting to play for the Knicks?
I feel bad. I'm going to answer this one pretty quick. I don't think it affects it one iota. It's not going to materially affect their. Well, I mean, yeah, sure, it'll affect their cap if he's making $36 million a year annually, which is what the max would be, versus if they get him to sign for something closer to like 25. I mean, that opens up obviously an extra $10 million in cap space per year. It may affect your ability to maneuver, but like the way they're setting themselves up cap wise over the next several years, it's really not going to make a difference. So in terms of whether stars would want to come, like, would the star be like, I don't want to go to a team that thinks RJ Barrett's a max player? Like, I don't I don't know. I don't, is anyone really going to care? Like, it's an investment in a kid who is the face of the franchise and is an incredibly hard worker, and you're banking on future production. If anything, the fact that they know he's here, like I know you're Mr. RJ, so I know what your answer to this is going to be, but I wonder, like, I don't think RJ is a guy yet where guys around the league are looking at him and be like, oh, I want to play with that dude. I don't think he's there yet, but I do think that there is like a certain reliability that he's going to build in terms of his reputation moving forward as a guy who, like, look,
yeah, the
offense is, nothing's happening right now. At least that dude could put his head down and draw I think pretty soon it's going to be 10, like 9-10 fouls a game, or 9-10 free throws a game.
Well, wasn't it 10 on average in like the month of?
Oh, it was
February
10 after
March.
Yeah, after December 31st, he was top 10 in free throws per game attempted.
Yeah, so, obviously as we acquire more talent, his usage gets scaled down a wee bit. That'll decrease, but like, I don't know. I'm like utmost confidence in just like him being able to fit in any lineup is also part of it. Like, I just 2, 3, small ball 4, whatever it is. Like,
and like the
lot of options there.
The minor critique that was valid, because he did do this, was where he would occasionally display tunnel vision towards the end of the year. Like, he's a 21-year-old learning how to be the first option for the first time, and it's not like he would go entire games where he just would look to pass the ball. Like, that never happened. There would be segments where he would maybe get a little bit, again, tunnel vision, excited. But yeah, excited's a good word.
That's what it is to me. Cause like, I'll be at the Garden, I'll see him. He gets a layup to go in transition. And he's like, oh, I finished over that guy. I could do that. Cool. Let me test this out again. And then spin move. And he gets that one to go. And then the next possession, he's like, all right, screw this. Like, I'm doing this again. Just like some, like the Westbrook, like off the side of the backboard, like he'll like really break something. And you're just like, oh, all right, relax. But he's like growing pains. Like, we're not.
Yes, it's growing pains. And more importantly, he's making the passes. Like the passes that are there to be made, he's almost always making them. And he's shown you a real ability to make some, maybe not super high level passes, but like he's had some nifty ones, especially down the stretch of the season, which have been encouraging.
It's always like the little wrap ones, like the like whether it's real close to Mitch or like the flip up. It's almost like Evan does similar lobs, like where just they'll get really in deep in the paint and just like flip with their left hand, up. Yeah, it's entertaining.
It is indeed entertaining.
Efficient, exciting, even
all of those things.
All right. I know who's going to be a power forward here, but we get to tap into your imagination a bit. So next question coming in from Andrew Son, rotation prediction / dream for next season. So I take this question, the prediction / dream, to be, stay realistic, but make the Macri picks, put your guys in the lineup. Just, don't trade everyone, because you get it.
Well, first, before I answer the question, I'll say the notion that it is a realistic option to trade Julius Randle, Evan Fournier, Alec Burks, Derrick Rose. Did I miss anybody?
Kemba.
I have Nerlens out the door, but like, okay, so no, add him to the list, because
that's what I'm saying. It's like a list of like 8 people that people think are all going to be gone this offseason.
So the reason I say it's not a realistic option to trade all 4 of those first guys that I mentioned, and actually I'm not even sure that there are a lot of Knicks fans who want to trade all of them, or maybe even like most of them. But like, so their priority, like they have to trade Kemba Walker. There's no, like, they have to move him. They have to find a new home for him, because if they don't find a new home for him, they have to eat $9 million. And I don't think Brock Aller cares to do that. I would say slightly lower on the priority list is trading Nerlens Noel. Although, is there a world where I could see him still on the roster and like being like tentatively penciled into the rotation? Yes, it's not a world I care to live in, and I don't think it's a world the Knicks care to live in. But like, that's pretty high priority too. So that means you are going into this offseason being like, great, we need to move $18+ million in salary. That's not necessarily easy, especially with like, well, what are you getting back? Are you getting back players that need to play in the rotation? So like, put those issues aside for a second. Then it's like, okay, we have these 4 other guys, Julius, Rose, Burks, and Fournier. like you could move one or two of them. You are not moving, in all likelihood, you are not moving three or four unless there's this dream consolidation trade. And I'm sorry, like, I don't think, I mean, let's just say the name. I don't think if Utah, gets swept by 30 points a game in the first round, like all of a sudden, like the Knicks are going to call them up and be like, okay, we'll give you Randle and Burks and Rose and and all the picks.
And I was going to say Randle, Burks, the Dallas 23 first, and then like one future New York first rounder is like the classic. I see that one all the time. It's like, well, they're going to want Burks back.
Yeah. Okay. So whatever. 5, 7 between picks and so
finest pocket lint in all the land. Donovan Mitchell. Like, all right.
The Jazz are not making that trade without a, I don't know what word you want to use. So like someone that they consider to be a potential high level starter, young player, whether it's RJ, whether it's quickly, like
Cam is who always comes to my mind with Utah. If we were going to trade for Spida, I always think of Cam Reddish as the person that they would pound the table for, because they are never getting a talent like that in free agency.
Well, Cam's a talent. It's not enough talent to bring Mitchell, whatever. This is not a Donovan Mitchell question. The point is,
I don't even want him anyway to piss everyone off.
I love Donovan Mitchell. I would love Donovan Mitchell here. I don't know if it's the right time to make that trade. Putting that aside, like there is no obvious trade out there that I could see, at least. And trust me, I think about this shit a lot, where you're moving all of this salary off. So this is a very long-winded way of answering the question, because in answering the question, and you're asking me, what is my realistic dream? I have to factor some of these guys in terms of some of these veterans into my rotation. So I will go with, I'll go with Emmanuel quickly as a starting point guard, RJ to 2. If they move off of Julius, I think it's going to be tough for them to also move off of Fournier. So I guess let's stick Fournier to 2 and we'll move RJ to the 3, Obi at the 4. And boy, see, here's the thing, right? Is like, they're not starting Sims. I just don't see it.
He's going to be on a 2-way. And I already had this argument with Jeremy, and Jeremy he's going to be on a 2-way.
He won't be on a 2-way. They're going to sign him using the cap space they get, one of the exceptions that they have this summer. That's going to be their way to sign him for multiple years. But it'll be cheap, whatever. Put Sims aside. He'll be the backup center. He's my backup 5. I just don't know, because like I could see them thinking, all right, let's try to get maybe a future draft asset in a Mitchell Robinson sign and trade, or a trade exception or something. And then we'll trade some of our current assets along with maybe a little bit of draft equity for our starting center this year. But like I look around the league and I'm like, who is that player? I'm like, it's the same obvious name that I always come back to, which is Miles Turner, because that is the obvious. Because that's the obvious name. You want to tell me that they're going to go
Clint
get
Capella,
and what, Atlanta's going to go get Rudy Gobert? Is that your?
Yeah, sure. If Mitch walks. Sign somewhere else, go get Capella. That's my, I would just love to have someone like consistent and who won't get like banished to the shadow realm by Andre Drummond every time he goes up for a rebound. And then people will maybe be like, oh, this is what having a good center is like.
I'll pivot. You know what? I've had Mitch out the door for like months now. I'll go in this to answer this question. I'll say fine. They keep Mitch. Great. It's just because I can't think of anything that's like
humbug.
I'm sorry. I like Mitch. Mitch is fine on a fair number. So that's my starters. Backups. Let's go. Again, this is my rotation, right? Okay. Let's go Rose. Let's go Grimes. Man, where are they sending Burke? They could send Burke somewhere. Cam at the 4. Sims at the 5. Who am I forgetting? Is there anybody I'm forgetting? I still have an extra spot. So I guess I can give that spot to the rookie that they picked with the whatever pick in the draft, right?
There you go. Yeah.
Unless I have forgotten someone, I'm gonna do a
quickly. Grimes, Reddish, Toppin, Barrett, Sims, Robinson, McBride. Yeah. You're leaving out.
Right? I am.
Who's your starting five again, John? Who'd you have in your starting five?
He had Mitch for this.
So Mitch,
spin of the
Mitch,
wheel.
Obi,
okay,
RJ, Fournier, and Quickly,
okay,
and then my backups are.
Where are they sending Randle?
That was not part of this question. I don't have to answer.
Right. But then that's who you're missing. That's who you're leaving out.
So can I not
there?
Say,
that's who Gordon unless you're saying that they traded him for Russ and bought Russ out.
Oh,
that's
Jesus
who
Christ.
They got. But that's the point. You can't take Randle off this team and not put who you're getting back.
Well, you can. Again, this is my dream.
Then why isn't Luka Doncic in this dream? Like,
no. I think there is a world where I could at least talk myself into it being a realistic scenario that they send Randle to Portland and take back Eric Bledsoe's contract and whatever. I think that it may need to be a little bit more salary, but whatever salary that needs to come back.
Hold on.
And then future draft equity. That could there's not. It will not happen.
So then Bledsoe's the one you're missing in the rotation.
What?
So Bledsoe's the one you're missing in the rotation.
Yeah, and they send Bledsoe packing, or they put him in street clothes. They John Wall him.
Hold put a clip on the Portland.
Okay, so
approximately 3.5 seconds here.
Okay, so yeah, that and you know what? By the way, if they have to send Randle to Charlotte and they have to take back Gordon Hayward, then fine. Get Gordon Hayward. He is now my starting three. Fournier moves to the bench. And Cam Reddish, it's been fun, but you are. Oh wait, no, Cam's the backup four. Who's out of the rotation? I was going to
say, what the hell kind of path are you about to go down?
Whoever your three is right now is where.
Wait, so hold on.
Slots into that spot.
Fournier moves to the bench, and so I have. Right. Hold on. So I have Rose. I think this is where this is where I lose it because I still have Rose, right?
Right.
I still have Grimes,
right?
I have now Fournier on the bench.
Fournier, Reddish, and Sims.
Oh, so that's fine. So so I don't have a spot for the rookie.
Which with Tibbs, you weren't gonna have a spot for the rookie anyway. So
and maybe
I hate that.
Maybe
it's real though. Like in this rotation.
I mean, look, there's always things you can do. Maybe they trade the first to Charlotte in the Randle deal in exchange for a much more lightly protected Charlotte pick that is 5 years out. Something like that. They've done it once, so it's not like they can't do it again. Like, I don't know. There's always things that you could always turn a draft pick into something, I'm not as worried about.
Yeah. Okay. I'll go on the condition that Quickly's playing 30 to 32 a night, absolute minimum. I'll let Tibbs have a defensive guard to start. I'll go Tyus. One of Burks or Evan, whoever's here, maybe at that starting two, and then go RJ Obi. And I'll put Capella in there. Say we route him somehow in a 3-team deal. Maybe that's how Noel or someone else gets banished. And
I'd be surprised if they ended up with Capella, but
it's just a name to throw out there.
And wait, they're trading for Tyus Jones? I'm assuming
he's a UFA.
He is indeed an unrestricted free agent. I stand mistaken. I apologize.
Kris has been on this for a while. This also adds the Duke connection, which then all they're missing is Zion.
I just wonder because I know his brother did not that he had a terrible experience under Tibbs, but I from what I recall, the reporting being at the time.
Tyus is the one that played with Tibbs.
Oh, so that's you. Sorry, I'm getting my Jones brothers confused.
Yeah, Trey is the one that played with RJ, Cam, and Zai.
And you want Tyus?
I would love him, but you also know that if it means if the concern is Tibbs can't be the coach, I don't care. Okay.
Yes, I understand.
That's to say, I always say it's a what have you done? If we're gonna say it's a what have you done for me recently business instead of a what have you done for me business, then either both Tibbs and Randle or neither should get a second shot or so that just to pretend here.
It's your dream
Tyus,
offseason, so
Tyus, let's say we get a nice juicy pick for Burks in the late first somewhere in my dreams. And
then I get that.
I know, but maybe 2 seconds. And then so it would be what, Tyus, Evan, RJ, Obi, Capella. And then
sure.
And then I'll go Deuce, Quick, but Quick's playing like 32 a night minimum. And then Grimes, Cam, Jericho.
Where'd they send Derrick Rose?
Contender for an unprotected first.
Actually, you just inspired something that I want to look at. Well, continue. What's the next question?
The next question, and this is why I said what I said about the Portland thing, is because Frazier D. Coleman wants to know how far up the draft Randle and say we pick 12, Randle and 12 could get you. And he adds in that a core of Lillard, Simons, and Randle could be more interesting to Portland than adding a rook at 6.
That is interesting. Just real quick on the Rose thing, because I always think back to how can he end up back in Chicago? Because I think there's a part of him that may want to go back to Chicago. There's no obvious salary there other than you could do a Troy Brown sign and trade. I don't think the Knicks want to be in the Troy Brown, but actually, here's a salary for you.
Caruso?
I hope. No, they're not trading Caruso. I hope the Knicks don't want to be in the business of this player because I'm really not that big of a fan of him. Although he is like, man, I could see Scott Perry being intrigued. You could add a small minimum salary to Kobe White, and I'm not a Kobe White guy, so I don't blame you for shaking your head and making a face that is like you just smelled a wet fart. But like, I could see them being anyway. That's where you could send Derrick Rose. But then where are you playing Kobe White?
Pepperidge Farm remembers when Kobe White was better than RJ Barrett. Pepperidge Farm remembers.
That was fun. Okay, so
Portland.
You want to trade Randle and whatever pick we get to Portland, and what can we get for that?
And how far up the draft could Randle and that pick get us? 12 and Randle for 6 for me seems like, I don't know if we get that high up. If there's someone that falls there like Griffin or Sharp, who just has athletic upside, like that's what the lottery is for, is taking those guys. So I don't know that Randle, when they can just take their other first and grab Jeremy Grant, is some, like, whoa to them.
This goes back to the overarching question, which if I'm going to spoil a column that should be dropping in the newsletter in about a week, which are the 5 biggest offseason questions, or actually, I don't know if they're going to be 5, whatever. The biggest offseason questions for the Knicks. I'm almost certain that my number 1 is going to be, what is Julius Randle's value? And I don't know that anyone could sit here right now after the season he had and tell you, even somewhat definitively, that they think his value is X.
No, yeah, because it's very circumstantial. It's very like, we saw the I'm not saying he would have commanded Halliburton, but because we know the Kings offered the Knicks bupkis for him. But like,
yes,
basically, it depends on the type of trade. It depends on whether, he's you're getting back, you're eating salary, whether you're getting back a young player or a draft.
So can we stick with that for a second?
Yeah.
Like, okay, that I feel comfortable. If there was a bad money out there, like maybe not even like Eric Bledsoe 2 years ago. It was like Eric Bledsoe was, laugh now, but like he was a fringe all-star, like almost I made a couple all defense teams. Like the dude he did things in the NBA that like were of moderate value. I'm talking about like, I'm trying to think of like a really, really bad salary over the last few years.
Parsons.
Something along those lines, maybe. Yeah. Towards the end there. The Wall contract is obviously much bigger, so it wouldn't be that. Like I'm thinking something in like honestly, you really have to go back to some of those contracts that were signed back in the summer of 2000. Andrew, help me out. 16 or 17? 16. I always forget. 16.
Summer of 16.
So Mozgov, Luol Deng, that type of,
like
those types of deals. Joakim Noah.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I'm not saying there aren't still bad contracts in the league. There are. You could look, but like go again. I've done this exercise many times. Just go look. I'm literally on it right now. Go look at Hoops Hype go sort by player salaries, and then just take a scroll down, and you sort by player, not team, player salaries, and just scroll down at all the salaries starting from basically what you could trade, 30 million down. 30 million is a little bit more than you'd be able to get back for Randle, but you could, throw in something else small or whatever to make it work. There's ways to do it, but just go down from there and look at who those players are. And then ask yourself, does this player really have really low value? The easiest one to point to is Al Horford, right? We think of Al Horford as this dead weight. Well, guess what? Al Horford started 60 some odd games for the team that was the 95, 96 Bulls for the last 3.5 months. So I don't know. Are we sure the Celtics would rather have Al Horford than Julius? That may sound crazy to some people, but again, I don't know the answer to that question. And you can keep going down the list and there's no obvious, Gordon Hayward might be the most obvious name. So then let's get to Portland, right? So
Hayward Portland, and PJ. I'd be happy with that.
Well, that's my fake trade has us maybe potentially getting back PJ Washington too. That's another one of my offseason dreams. So let's look at Portland real quick. So Portland is in the unique situation where they have did he turn 30? Is he 31? I don't know, whatever he is. Dame Lillard. He would like to get paid a lot of money from Portland, preferably. And he would like to win basketball games. And you have to put a team around him that at least gives him a chance to do that. 31. Thank you, Kris. So how are you going to do that? So they have Eric Bledsoe. So the Eric Bledsoe contract is interesting because it's only guaranteed for $4 million for next year. But if you're trading for him at this point, that salary would be fully guaranteed for next year. So if you trade for Eric Bledsoe, you have to keep the whole $19 million on the books. Now you could waive him the day you get him or flip him somewhere else, but you have to account for that full $19.3 million. Okay. Would the Blazers do 12 and Randle for Bledsoe and 6? I could.
That would be yeah.
They probably have to. They might have to put a little bit more. I think they have to put a little bit more money in. Actually, no, that works under the cap. They don't have to put any more money in. Man, I think they would do that. I think they would entertain that.
If they're really in on this Dame thing.
That's not crazy, right?
I mean, so I just know Hart and Nurkic and someone else posted Instagram photos with Jeremy Grant after their game against Detroit. All cryptic. It just seems they're already decided there. I don't know.
It feels like that. I agree with you. It feels like Grant's the direction they want to go. If
Randle becomes available, though, then that's probably a different conversation. You think Dame maybe goes, oh, wait.
Is there? I'm sure there's an internet meme for this. Why not both?
¿Por qué no los dos?
Yeah, there's
a meme for that. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm semi-serious here because
we use six for 6 and Bledsoe for Randle and 12, and then they take 12 and send that for Grant.
I'm just wondering so Jeremy Grant, the notion of Jeremy Grant playing the 3 is not completely bunk. You can still play him at the 3, just like you can still play Randle at the 5. We don't do it here, but other teams might be more willing to do it. So I'm serious. What better way to appease Dame than to get these two guys? And that's a statement, right?
If you have 2 first-round picks and you turn them into Jeremy Grant and Julius Randle, that's probably good.
One other thing, they may also not necessarily need to if they, because they also have the Anthony Simons chip who could be used potentially in a sign and trade. And I still am not sure I see the world where it makes sense to pay Simons as much as I think another team out there might be willing to give him to do what on the same team as Dame? Play next to him? I don't see that. Back him up?
Be CJ McCollum.
Yeah, but no, but that, we ran that show once. It didn't work. It's not going to work again. You can't have.
And now look at CJ once he escaped.
Well,
Loser Town.
That's terrible. I like Josh Hart to me. Josh Hart at the 2. That's probably a bit much. Can you play Josh Hart at the 2? Probably not, right?
That's like saying you want to play RJ at the 2. It's like, yeah, I guess you could. It's just weird. Like, why would you do that? I don't know.
I'm just trying to think of a way
too.
I'm trying to think of a way for them to get whatever. Do I think there's a world where the Knicks could do something involving their pick, Portland's pick, Julius Randle? But all of this, we're bearing the lead here, which is that the Knicks would have to have someone that they're absolutely in love with at whatever that Portland pick is, which if you know anything about this draft, you know that beauty after 4, beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
AJ.
I know you look, AJ's great, but he also is a guy that's like, you're taking a chance.
Yeah. I just I don't know. I think if Ivy goes 4, then one of Shaden or AJ is guaranteed.
See, Shaden to me,
well, he's going to be special. Yeah.
Because then, I don't want to get too crazy on draft because we're actually going to have a little announcement later regarding the draft. But just very quickly, for anybody who doesn't know anything about this draft, there's a kid who is the mystery man of the draft.
No,
Shaden Sharp.
He's going to be in.
No, mystery man because no one's seen him play organized basketball in a very long time. But that was slated to be the number 1 prospect in what is a loaded class in 2023. He's probably going to be draft eligible. So if you want to get around the issue that we just dealt with 2 questions ago, where it's like, where are we putting this rookie in the rotation? Guess what? Shaden Sharp, welcome to Westchester. Here's your plush apartment. Make yourself comfortable. That makes some sense for a kid that is that. Do you want to talk about a kid that's going to need time? Like that kid's going to need time.
You know how I am with letting young engines practice revving up on the court and not on the practice track. So, if we were good, then I would be fine, but we're not. So
hey, listen, we may be good next year. You never know. No, but listen,
if we're trading Randle, then the plan is probably one of those like one step back, 3 step sideways things for next year, right? So
but this is why you potentially pivot. You start off, he's not in the rotation, and then this is what normal organizations do. 30, 40, 50 games into the season, they pivot towards more of a youth movement. We did it after 75 games. It's okay. Better late than never.
Yeah.
Next question, Kris.
Oh, yeah. I wonder why it took so long. Mark Sable wants to know.
I love Mark.
Do you think the Knicks front office has a plan other than wait for a disgruntled star to ask for a trade? I understand that tanking doesn't yield the results it used to, and the free agent market hasn't been great / doesn't project to be this summer, but still, I don't like the idea of having all of our eggs in one basket.
Does any front office have a plan other than that? I mean, I know that sounds facetious, but I am being kind of serious. Like if you're a team that doesn't have a star that you think is good enough to be the best player on a championship team, which I would, off the top of my head, I would say that probably was like 15 teams in the league have a star that they could talk themselves into like, yeah, we could win a championship with this guy as our best player, and 15 or so do not, give or take a few. Like there are 2 options. You either draft that player, or 3 options. You draft that player, you sign that player, or you trade for that player. So I do not believe the Knicks are going to engage in the sort of tanking effort that it would take to attempt to get that player through the draft. They may end up with that player through the draft. Crazier things have happened. Again, Donovan Mitchell. I know you don't think Donovan Mitchell is that player. We don't have to talk about that right now. They're not going to do that. So then you either sign the player or you trade for the player. And like signing for the player is not a sound plan because that's not the way the league works anymore. One, players don't allow themselves to hit unrestricted free agency, like in the real sense. I understand Bradley Beal and Zach LaVine and James Harden and Kyrie Irving actually are all hitting it this summer, but like not in there will be no sweepstakes for those players. Like if those players want to leave those cities, they will say where they want to go, and then there will be a signing trade worked out. Just
Bill
like
Duffy should do something about and his client playing not where RJ Barrett, his other client, plays.
And maybe they will. and if a player has years left on his contract, which is what Mark is asking here, when that player decides, I don't want to play her anymore, he's going to go to his ownership and he's going to say, I don't want to play her anymore. And if there's 2 years left on his contract, then maybe we're moving to the place where it's like 2.5 years or 3 years left on the contract, then they're going to be dealt elsewhere. So like, I don't know what other plan you're supposed to have anymore. Like, yeah, of course you try to build organically as best as you can and you draft well and you sign good players, and you do all those things. But like, in terms of like the plan to become a true contender, that what other option is there? Unless you want them to engage in a true tank, which if that's your stance, that's fine. Get ready to like, I don't know, trade away RJ. Like, you're trading. It would be a very, I don't know. I can't even imagine what that would look like if they tried to engage in that. They're not going to engage in that.
Fair. Yeah, fair. We've got 2 questions up next that I've decided were related. One of them is just legitimately insane, but is a name that I think is worth bringing up. So I'm going to bring it up in conjunction with the first question, which is serious. Yeah, you're welcome. Urson Demir, first question. As some of you know, I'm far from a fan of extending Mitchell Robinson. How do you guys see the starting center spot being filled for next season? And then the second question comes from CJ Card Collector. And it says, hashtag ask Kris, what are your thoughts on Isaiah Hartenstein becoming the face of the Knicks center position?
This is Jeremy's burner. He likes Hartenstein. I think someone out there are fans of Hartenstein.
It's me. I'm the other one. I'm the other person that likes him. Yeah. This is just nuts. So I had to. Yeah.
Why is it nuts? That dude was
face of the Knicks center position.
I mean, call it whatever you want. The dude's a good center.
I've said I would let Mitch walk and sign him for next year. I would do it.
Like,
if letting Mitch walk means signing and trading him for assets, obviously. Or I would do Mitch 225 or 336, Hartenstein, big payday to be the backup if you trade Noel, keep Sims on the 2-way, and then after next year, get rid of Mitch.
You got to get the Sims 2-way thing out of your head. He's going to get converted to a regular contract.
I'm glad that Jeremy's who convinced me it's going to be a 2-way. So I'm happy for him that he'll get a regular deal. That's what I wanted.
I've thought about this a lot, the Knicks center position, and I don't have a great answer other than they just re-signed Mitch. And I know some people think that Mitch is out the door already. I don't. I think there is still a chance that they bring him back, because I think we would have heard more at the deadline about them going a little bit further down the road on some deals, or at least a deal. If they thought he was going to walk. And
it just feels like we got some Berman talk about Detroit and like another team as like a, hey, Mitch's agent will do it if you don't take a lower number.
Like, again, I wrote about this morning. Like, if you're Charlotte, and again, Charlotte has no cap space because they have the Miles Bridges cap hold and they got, they don't have cap space. Like, if you go to Mitchell Robinson's agent and you say, we are willing to pay your client $15 million a year to play basketball for us, well, then that puts the Knicks in a tough position, because I don't think the Knicks have any desire to pay Mitchell Robinson $15 million a year. So, but at the same time, if you're Charlotte, you cannot sign Mitchell Robinson to that contract. You have to work out a sign and trade. Now, I think there are sign and trade deals that you could very easily work out with Charlotte, in which case maybe the Knicks get back PJ Washington, who I think would be an interesting fit. Maybe that's my answer to this question. PJ Washington is the starting center for the next year. That wouldn't be insane to me. I think he makes sense as a more of a shooter. And I'm not saying he's a better defender than Mitch, but you can move around a little bit more. He's a little bit more of a versatile piece for the chessboard. I don't know. I'm not out on Mitch yet. I think there's still a possibility they get him. You're going to cringe. I don't care. I think the Turner stuff will be back. I think you're going to hear about Turner more. I really do. There's been smoke there for 2 years, Kris. 2 years.
Send Randle there. If you want Randle and Turner to team up so bad,
I
do
would
it over there.
I would drive him to Indiana myself.
Well, they just got Hallie for Sabonis, and now they maybe, if they want to get serious, could use a buy low on a
yes,
replacement power forward.
Guys, we're getting serious as a franchise. What are we want to do? You know what? Let's get the guy that told his fan base to
Healed. Well, they do Healed and someone not real, and then like an unprotected first for him.
It's not going to happen. Indiana doesn't trade unprotected firsts. No, but like, I don't think the Knicks want Buddy Hield, but you could figure like there are trades you could do with Indiana. There are ways you could get Julius there. I'm not worried about that right now. I just like, there's no obvious center out there where I'm like, that guy makes the most sense for the Knicks because again, Turner has the foot injury. And as you've already brought up, he is far from a perfect center. He's a poor rebounder.
33% shooter from three. Like he draws closeouts. He draws closeouts on about a third of his 3-point shot attempts. So like that's not too stretchy if you ask me. I don't know.
You're right. It's not the stretchiest guy in the world. But you look around, and it's like, okay, are they trying to work out a sign and trade with Portland for Nurkic? Like, I don't know I keep
Mitch at that point.
Yeah, I don't see that. Like Tibbs has a type. And Mitch fits that type, and we know Tibbs is going to be back. So if it's a fair number that you could get Mitch at, I think all things being equal, if you ask me today, who do I think is going to be the starting center for the Knicks next year? I would have to still say Mitchell Robinson.
Yeah, that's fair. If you ask me right now, I would say he declines New York's initial offer, but not like officially. He just says like, hold on, goes, tries to get better ones, doesn't, and then takes their poo-poo platter, which like, yeah, I could see that happening. I don't know, man.
All it takes is one asshole, and that's why I thought Charlotte getting absolutely just decimated last night. I don't know.
They should be all over Randle and Mitch.
I mean, I hope they're all over Randle. I would love Hayward God
and PJ.
What I wouldn't do to get Gordon Hayward and some future draft asset that has the potential to be like a real thing, not like this top 14 protected bullshit, but a real
Hayward, PJ, and a something for Randle and Mitch would be really cool.
Man, I didn't check that in terms of if that could work on that. Now you got me doing math in my head. Ask the next question.
All right. We've got a 3-parter.
Okay.
And as you know, when the 3-parters start coming in, we're making it to the end of the show. We start getting a little less serious. But this question actually is going to remain in the very serious side of things. So don't be fooled. Okay. Number 1, is it reasonable to assume that you and most of us want to see the Celtics crush the Nets?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Number 2, if you tried an edible,
who's this question from?
Oh, I forgot to even mention Jessica Clarice.
Oh, hi, Jessica.
Number 2, I got so excited to ask this one. If you tried an edible, what kind would you get? Cookie, brownie, gummy, or other? You were presented with options. That's wow.
I've tried a gummy edible. Gave us one, remember? I just blew up my cousin's spot. Yeah, so gummy. I like gummy bears.
Number 3, going right back in the other direction. Do you think Randle, if traded, gets traded sooner or later in the summer? Is it like take out the garbage thing, or is it a
later?
All right,
no, later for sure. My bigger question is, does he get traded on? Because the trade kicker thing is a real thing. Like the 15% trade kicker does not kick in yet until the new league year. I think it would be tough to trade. I shouldn't say that. You could trade him on draft night. But it's just like a lot of these deals that get consummated on draft night or before draft night or a little bit after draft night, like they don't actually go through into the new league year. So my gut feeling is probably after the new league year, especially since like, again, without getting into all the specifics of like what teams are angling for who and this and that and the other thing. After free agency shakes out and we see where guys go and like teams look at their roster and it's like, okay, this is what we have. Are we happy with this? Are we not happy with this? Do we want to take a chance on someone that maybe we we didn't think we want to take a chance on before this.
Right.
That's when I think some team might be more inclined to look at Julius Randle and be like, you know what? Let's give it a shot.
Yeah, that's fair. That adds up. I think that like we spent every day with him this year, and like when you live with someone and have roommates and hang out with them every day, you like get very keyed in on some flaws, like they annoy you more and more and more. And like, I think it's important to remember, like Jeremy's made this point on the timeline too. Like there is going to be a small market team out there that's like, oh, we haven't had a player that can do half of these things since the Bush administration. Like we're probably going to take a look at this, like yeah, he's good. I don't know. There's someone like you said earlier, it takes one, right? Like
I think it's notable, and the point doesn't get made enough. And it's a bad job by me because I admittedly have long ago lost the ability to be impartial about this player, Randle. I think it's notable that even at the very end, he was drawing doubles occasionally. Not all the time, but he was drawing doubles occasionally. And like you watch him take the shots that he takes, and many of them are frustrating. And then you watch, like, that's the thing. I was looking at the second half of his season. His second half of his season, there was the 4 games, right?
Freakiest thing. Yeah.
With the Sacramento game, and then the 3 that came after it, in which I went back. I could not believe this because I recapped my stars of the season, and I gave Randle 3 stars all 4 of those games because it was awesome.
It was probably a better 4-game stretch of basketball than.
Don't say that. If you want to say at any point this season, that's fine. Don't go back to last year.
I like this. It was different. It was not just, I have takeover on NBA 2K and I'm just hitting every single shot imaginable. It was
I don't know what that means, but okay.
It was like the NBA. Did you play NBA Jam? Like getting hot, getting on fire. Okay,
that I know what that means.
On fire. Yeah. Like this season, it was more about like processing and like, this is what the defense is doing because I'm here, so I should do this. Like it just felt like an upgraded.
To me, the best. This is not the best he looked, but the part of the season where I was most encouraged about him was early on ish, where you could tell he was really clearly making an effort to try to fit into what this like version of the offense that they had in their mind. And he was kind of sort of pulling it off at times. And then sometimes he was like not, but it felt like they were heading in that direction. And then they pulled the plug and they sacked Kemba and, and then on and on we went. I don't know. If I was a team, like I agree with you, they should look at him and be like, this is still a talented player. What I would be worried about if I was a team would be, okay, if the 3-point shooting if he's just a 32% 3-point shooter, right? If that's what he is. All right. Well, that's not great. So then, you keep that in reserve, right? For if it happens, it happens. It's not something we're going to design our offense around. Let's try to get him moving. Let's try to get him moving to the rim. And I know this is something that you've been very vocal about in terms of like his usage. I personally am of the opinion that Randle took the shots that he took and like was the way he was in our offense because that's how he likes to be used.
Yeah. I mean, guys also like just think about it. Remember Carmelo used to throw the pads on to go bang down low because like it just gets, it's like the trenches of basketball, right? Like if you can cook guys from the perimeter doing cool stuff that you saw on like your highlight tapes growing up, that's probably what you're going to try to do. And he just came out this season like so flat and was like, what do you mean this doesn't work anymore? Like, well,
but then the part that worries me a little bit is like, okay, put him next to a stretch 5, right? That's the logical thing. And you want to talk about go back to Portland one more time. We're talking about Portland making over its entire rotation, right? But like I've been traded for Turner, Grant, and Randle, right? So you got your stretch 5 next to Randle. And they've been linked to Turner too. Like even in that scenario, like he has struggled at the rim this year. Like he has legitimately struggled at the rim when on contested shots. So again, I'm just saying if I was another team, I would Like that would give me pause because it's not like, oh, we'll play this guy with a stretch five and boom, there's 114 offensive rating. You know, I don't think it's that automatic. I think you are still signing up for some issues. Now you're signing up for issues with the 50th highest paid player in the league. So it's probably worth the risk if you're a certain team in a certain situation. We're not sure what that situation is.
Fair. Yeah. I just look at like Elfrid Payton, Cooked, Walker, Alec Burks. Like there's a universe out there where like the Knicks put Quickly in at the starter spot when they took out Kemba, and he got Randle up off his ass and was like, yo, it's time to make some plays. I mean, we saw when they let Quick play with Julius threw up like several awful shots against the Wizards this year, and Quickly came in and just slowed down the offense, literally slowed it down to just get Julius set up in his spots and getting good shots. And then Randle had a heat check 3 after making like 3 straight shot that went in because his release was feeling good because Quickly was setting him up. I just like have seen what a point guard who is focused on getting Julius Randle better shots than Julius Randle gets Julius Randle can do. And despite the fact that Randle's like own attitude, like I acknowledge so often how self-inflicted like a myriad of his problems were this year. But I don't know, if you showed up to work every day and started showing up later and later and later and your boss didn't start paying you less or whatever, I'd probably keep doing it too.
Well, that's the most valid thing. I don't know that there's a player, all due respect to Quick, who I love. I don't know, and by the way, those two, you want to talk about great combos. They were the Knicks' best combo last year by far. It was magic when those guys were on the floor. I think they were like a plus 10 point something.
Can I ask one last question? Hasn't the Julius Randle conversation evolved that it has nothing to do with whether or not like a Quickly or a better point guard could fix him? It's like almost solely an Obi Toppin conversation now, and whether or not, because you're like, they're not going to play together, so it's a one or the other at this point.
I don't know if it's solely an Obi conversation. I think
that's how the discourse has transformed. Sure, like. Let me put it this way. I do not think the Knicks are, again, what the hell do I know? But I don't think the Knicks are in their war room, making their plans for the summer, being like, because Obi is now this, and we know he is this, and we have seen this, we thus now need to, that is the reason that we need to trade Julius Randle. I think it is one component of several components. That's my opinion.
But if you're bringing back the coach who has already shown like he's not going to play them together, then unless you're saying that there is a 24-24 or like a more even balance in minutes distribution world where they can coexist on the same roster, like hasn't it become like we now need to focus on the guy that's, or picking the draft 2 years ago,
or they trade the other guy, or they trade Obi.
No one wants to talk about that's an avenue, but maybe
which is why I thought for as silly as it is, I thought the letter to season ticket holders on Thursday that was sent out by Leon Rose, to me that has real meaning because look, Leon Rose, God knows he can do whatever he wants, but I don't think you would throw that in your fans' faces and then turn around and literally trade the guy who's unequivocally the fan favorite. I mean, all due respect to RJ, all due respect to Quickly, I don't think they would do that.
Kris, you're at more games than we are. Who's the most fan favorite? Who ignites the crowd the most of the young guns?
I'll say that when RJ is going, like when RJ has those little stretches against like a team like Indiana or whoever, where he gets like 3 straight layups to go, just layups, and he's like cooking, start getting the RJ, whatever. It takes literally one dunk. It takes literally 1 3. It takes literally 1 whatever. And the whole building is Obi Toppin, So it's like
one third center to foul out. And then Tibbs looks up and down the bench and everybody's chanting Obi Toppin. Yes.
Yeah. So for me and this final, question here, penultimate, we'll give John a chance to explore this a little bit too, just in terms of the front office's thinking, because they're involved in this next question as well. But before we get there, I do think like Obi and Randle, it's a debate that's now like there is a mutually exclusive vibe going on there, right? Like just because of, we know the coach is staying that doesn't like to play them together. However, has the end of this year maybe shown him like with more nudging from the front office that that's something that is worth it, like maybe, so we've got to see, but I do think like way more paths should be opened up for both Obi and Quickly to just like get better at basketball. Like, I don't know. We played the Lakers and it went to overtime and Quick recorded 9 minutes and people were like, well, we were trying to win, so that's fine. And I'm like, no, that's the problem. Like that's the issue.
Well, that's been the overarching, because you could criticize organizational philosophy and have disagreements about it. But when there's also evidence that putting aside the philosophy question, is this actually leading to winning more or less? And then you look at the end of the year, like crunch time numbers, to say nothing of the on-off stuff. It's like, that's where you get into the biggest justifiable issues that people have with this coach. But yeah, we'll see if they make a move next year to take some of the as Andrew says, take some of the toys away.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next question here. It's a quick answer. And this is what I was saying is kind of tied into the front office. From Jules, who on the current Knicks roster takes the biggest leap next season?
Hold on. I need 8 seconds of think time.
Fair.
Maybe Andrew could put in some music.
I love how you thought this was a quick question, Kris.
It should be a quick question.
It should have been.
Or were you saying, or was that a hint? Quick question.
No, this guy just, I didn't think he would need the Jeopardy music on.
No, because I could answer this in there are 4 names that are coming to mind. Unsurprisingly, quickly top in RJ and Cam.
I was going to say Cam is the dark horse.
Cam actually to me is the obvious one because Cam has done nothing in his time as an NBA player to show himself to be a contributor to winning basketball, like even a little bit. Like, okay, you could argue maybe towards the end before he got injured with the Knicks, he was doing some things. It was like, oh, Cam's helping them win. He was. That was like 5 games, So could I see a world where Cam comes out and like, holy shit, this guy's going to be starting winning the league for the next 10 years. Like, yeah, that could happen. In which case, I'm pretty sure he will have made the biggest leap. I'm not going to go that. I will go with. See, I see RJ's growth as more like slow and steady and methodical. Like, I don't see RJ coming out next year and like averaging 30 on like great efficiency.
No, absolutely not.
I'll go.
Like you said, I'm Mr. RJ, and I've long said he's a year 5. Like that is going to be there's no argument against him being on the All-Star team.
You've been consistent with that. Okay, I'm not going to take too much longer with this. I will go. I think what we saw at the end of the season with Obi was the sign of things to come. I compared him
a harbinger.
I compared him to CJ McCollum. I think it was over a year ago in terms of a guy who, late lottery pick, small school, older prospect, 2 years on the bench, came in, won most improved. Like if you told me Obi Toppin won most improved next year, wouldn't be shocked. If they trade Randle and they give this guy, yeah. So I'll go Obi.
I would love to know what those odds would be if they are trading.
Whatever they are, I'm taking them. I'll buy another engagement ring for my
I'm in.
Andrew, you missed that one.
I get the reference. Well done.
Is that it?
I thought we had one last question.
We have one more question, and it's from Andrew. It's from Andrew Claudio, and we know him. And the question is, any thoughts on the draft? Would love to know what you think of this year's class, with draft and class in all caps.
Well, it's funny you should ask that, Andrew Claudio, because we have a little announcement here at KFS. We've been teasing this for a little while. Very, very pleased, proud, happy, all the good things to announce Draft Class. Yes, Draft Class, a weekly NBA draft podcast presented by Knicks Film School and hosted by, wait for it, Kris Pursiainen. Yes, the Kris Pursiainen. Hello, Kris. Over the next 10 weeks, you're going to hear all about this year's class of draft prospects from Kris. and his star-studded lineup of expert guests, which I don't think I'm going to be a part of because I have not done my homework yet. Maybe towards the end. Maybe what I'll do is towards the end. Yeah, I'll hop in if on a prospect that I feel like really passionately about that you haven't covered with somebody else yet. Anyway, new episodes are going to drop every Saturday morning. You don't have to go searching for this. It's going to pop up right on your Knicks Film School podcast feed. So check it out. The first one is coming soon.
This Saturday.
So
tomorrow, when you're listening to this, everybody.
Hey, how you doing? I can't wait to listen to that. It's been a while since I've gotten to listen to a podcast on this podcast feed where it's like I hear it for the first time like everybody else. So I'm excited to do that. It's great. Good stuff, Kris.
Well, thank you guys, for the opportunity to teach draft class to go along with the pun there. You guys know I love this stuff. I eat this stuff up. So going back to, SI days or whatever, like I just love the film and everything. And then you guys also know my favorite thing is yelling at people about sports. So yeah, here's my chance. I am really excited. And I was planning, the goal was to have a KFS roundtable, Mr. Macri. So you'll have to study up. But
I will study.
I'm very excited for the opportunity for the chance to get to hang out with our listeners for a little extra bit every week. And hopefully teach them a thing or two. But yeah, that's the pitch is fun draft time. Just no stress, no crazy
easygoing
medical terms or anything.
Easygoing draft.
Just just come hang out, talk about some college prospects, some international prospects, how they might fit on the Knickerbockers of New York. It's very exciting.
Perfect.
So that would be a yes to my question. Any thoughts on this year's draft?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Some.
Cool. I look forward to finding out more.
To be announced.
Hold on, Kris. We're not letting you go that quick. Anything else you want to plug or promote before you go, or is that it? Is that sufficient?
That's sufficient, man. That's about it for me. We got just make sure you go check it out this Saturday. We're going to have first episode up, as John said, / Andrew with his, as they said, this Saturday, the first day, the debut episode, rather, I think is a fancier word.
I'm excited for it. And a belated congratulations to you on a very successful first year. Giving color commentary on the Fordham women's basketball team. You did a very nice job. I listened to as you instructed. You don't have to listen to more than 15 minutes. I listened to my 15 minutes of what was that? The NIT or was the NCAA?
WNIT.
It was the NIT. Okay. You did a great job. You were throwing the stats in there. You reminded me a little bit of like Brendan Brown. That was who you reminded me of.
We'll see how that ages, because I might be doing some different roles now. So we'll see how that goes.
Okay.
The plan for next season is to be traveling with the women's team and being full-time color commentator.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So.
Congratulations. I'm excited for you for that and for draft class, obviously. I will just sign off by saying, once again, thanks everybody for checking out the pod. Thanks to everybody for everything this season, following along, whether you follow along on Twitter, podcast, YouTube, the newsletter. I feel like I didn't properly do this last week. I'll do it again very quickly now, which is to say thank you for everybody for your time and attention. Got a pod coming up with Jeremy, dropping as usual, midnight Sunday, going into Monday, right, Andrew? I think we're still going to get it up then. And also shameless plug for a pod that's going to be dropping in the middle of next week with a guest that has been on before. I recorded the conversation already. I'm so excited for you guys to hear this because I think you're going to really enjoy it. I got to pick the brain of someone who, let's just say he is qualified to have some thoughts about the Knicks front office and what lies ahead of them, maybe some of the decisions that they've already made. So I would just leave it at that. And thanks again, and have a great weekend.